Tony's Topics. What's happening, folks? My name is Tony. Welcome to Tony's Topics. So the first thing I want to get into tonight, let's get into the NBA. First up, last night's games. Minnesota versus Washington, predictable. Of course, Washington's going to pull that out. Miami, Brooklyn, that might have been a toss-up. I don't think I called the games beforehand, but honestly, Miami or Brooklyn, both teams are mediocre, so meh. Okay, so I guess Miami pulled it out. They still got some in the tank. Next up, Golden State versus Memphis, the game of the night. Let me come back to that one since it was so pivotal. Or just huge. Either way it goes. Utah versus the Pelicans. Yeah, the Pelicans pulled it out. Of course the Pelicans are going to pull it out. Now, it's interesting that, well, that almost got me into that other subject matter of talking about how the Sacramento Kings fired their coach. I don't know why. I mean, they're losing, but you had DeMarcus Cousins, Rudy Gay. You got rid of Isaiah Thomas last year, who was a 20-point scorer, so you really expect it to be that much better? I mean, granted, Bledsoe is good, but maybe you needed to keep Isaiah Thomas and Bledsoe. I know you got to budget some things out, but I mean, I think you guys were only paying Isaiah Thomas $7 million anyway, so I don't understand how you didn't have the money to pull in another ringer. Okay, but anyway, but now you want to blame the coach on that one? Sometimes I think it's the coach's fault, but sometimes if you don't have the talent level on your team, it's not the coach's fault. Okay. So anyway it goes. Let's see here. Oh yeah, Dallas over the Knicks, of course. OKC over Sacramento. Of course OKC is going to win that matchup. And then finally, the game of last night. Memphis beating the Golden State Warriors. Say it ain't so, Dubs! Say it ain't so! Now, recently, I've already been talking about the greatness of Memphis. You know, check my videos. You go back. I've already been talking about the greatness of Memphis before they had nearly as many wins as they do. And Golden State, no one could sleep on the fact that Golden State was destroying people. But I watched the game last night, and pretty much it held true to form to what I've said in past videos. Number one, Golden State is based off of Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. They're two amazing players, two top 20 players. Steph Curry's a top 10 player, honestly. So, I mean, both, and you know, Klay Thompson's right on his way. He's like scoring top 10 scorer, top 20 scorer if you were trying to talk about top players. But anyway, so both those guys are pretty much the core of the team. Now, Green has really been bringing in a lot of games, and Harrison Barnes has been holding his own. But the guy coming in there off the bench, Maurice Spikes, I think has really been adding a lot of necessary points for that team to win, especially with David Lee in his absence. Now, last night they go up against grit and grind Memphis, and the defense in that game was incredible. I mean, it was so difficult to score in that game. That game was an NBA Finals game in the regular season. It was beautiful. Okay, I mean, the defense was brutal. To score out there, you really need to know what you were doing. And it just so happened that Vince Carter had a game from his past that was just amazing. Okay. So, Golden State lost, but at the same time, you kind of almost got to say, wow, if Golden State gets David Lee back, oh my gosh, how destructive can this team really be? I mean, they've already got a great setup, so I'm really not worried about Golden State. Yes, I've jumped on the Golden State bandwagon. Who hasn't? I mean, with a 16-game win streak, who hasn't? So, Memphis showed that they can hang with Golden State as long as Golden State doesn't have David Lee. Good. Maybe even if Golden State did have David Lee, Memphis might have beat him. You know, I mean, you never know. Bottom line is, both teams were Tier 3 teams last year. Both teams, last year, I wouldn't put either one of those teams on beating the Rockets or Portland. But yet, this year, they can both serve the Rockets and Portland their lunch on any given night. Now, the Rockets are still holding it down now, especially that they've got Dwight Howard back. All I'm saying is, the Golden State Warriors or the Memphis Grizzlies have made tremendous gains since last year. Okay, so that was pretty much the game of the night. So let's get into the games that are let's get into the games of tonight. Phoenix versus Charlotte. Phoenix Suns, who have been on a terrible losing streak, versus Charlotte Hornets, which really aren't that significant. I guess you got to go with Charlotte. I mean, normally I want to go with the Suns, but I guess you just got to go with Charlotte by now. Cleveland versus Atlanta, the game of the night. I'm going to come back to that one because that's the game that matters. Okay, Orlando versus Boston. I'd go Boston. Dallas versus Detroit. Dallas Mavericks, easy. Miami versus Utah. I would say Miami, except for the fact that they just played last night. That's one of those upset games, and with Miami being a kind of somewhat mediocre team this year, I would take Utah. They just played the night before, and I've gone into depth about what happens when teams have to play back-to-back nights. You're not playing that team at 100%. You're playing them at closer to 70%, 65%. So, yeah, even a bad team can beat you if you're, less than your best. Okay, because, it's not like teams win it with a point advantage of 60 or 30% higher than the other team. Games are typically close. Even when good teams go against bad teams, it's typically what, a 10-point, 15-point difference at the most. Okay. So moving on. Toronto over Brooklyn, easy. And now we got Memphis versus the Spurs. Memphis would have a hard time beating the Spurs even if they didn't play last night. But due to the fact that they have shot all their energy into beating Golden State last night, I don't see Memphis pulling this out. I don't even think there's a chance for Memphis to pull it out. I wouldn't be surprised if many of the starters have bad games because, honestly, they blew all their energy out last night trying to take down Golden State Warriors, which was a momentous win, even though it stinks that I'm going for the Golden State Warriors now. But, yay, Memphis! Moving on. So, that pretty much wraps it up. Oh, yeah, Cleveland. Okay. So tonight, Cleveland's going against Atlanta. Atlanta's one of the better teams in the East, at least according to their record. Now, honestly, Cleveland's coming together, the Bulls are coming together, so to even put Atlanta up there really makes me say, what? But at the same time, the team's got a better record, and it is a good challenge for Cleveland of who the Cleveland Cavaliers are at this point. Now, let's see if David Blatt does what David Blatt always does, run LeBron James, Kevin Love, and Kyrie Irving for 40 minutes, run Sean Marion like he's the best thing on the court, even though Sean Marion won't break 10 points. And let me see here. What else is David Blatt good for doing? Playing Tristan Thompson at center instead of power forward and small forward so that Tristan Thompson could score over 10 points. Let's see here. What else is he going to do? He'll probably underplay Dion Waiters, or he'll put him out there on the court with LeBron James where Dion Waiters might not get the ball as much and not be able to get his points. That kid has a low shooting percentage. I think he's shooting maybe around 40%, 30% maybe, high 30s, low 40s. But you really need him to be out there and have confidence in himself because make no doubt, the Cleveland Cavaliers need Dion Waiters' points if they want to have a chance at winning it all. And they have a chance at winning it all. Oh, yeah, and you can bet that Blatt's still not going to play Brendan Haywood. Now, if Blatt proves me wrong in virtually any of these areas, I'm quite sure we'll have a nice night. Do I think they'll win? Of course they'll win. Did they have to play last night? Nope. They'll win. So, they'll win, but the question is, are you getting better? Because, again, it's the Hawks. And by now, Blatt should realize one simple thing. LeBron James isn't playing to beat some bad teams in the regular season. That man's playing for rings. That's my time, and that's my topics. Tone's Topics.